Let's start again. Hi everyone, welcome to this cook-along fun evening with the Fire Diabetes team. We have three groups tonight. It's the Fire Circle, the group of alumni cooking along. And then we have the group that started in January. For them, this is a very special evening. It's day 32, and day 32 is about having fun by lowering your cortisol. And today we will have great fun. It was a busy day. Everybody is still running around. So, oh my goodness, Pete, where's your wine? I don't have wine. That's a problem. Okay, do you have wine, Pete? I think that's still lacking. Okay, I'll sort that out now. Let's Elise can sort out your glass and I'll arrange my own glass. So yeah, welcome everyone. And then the group that have just started the past Saturday, they're still in pre-training. We've invited them just to come along, to cook along, and to have a lot of fun with us. Okay, so this evening we are doing what? Welcome, Pete.
Welcome, folks. Hi, we're just getting some teething problems sorted out at the moment, but otherwise we'll be ready in 2 seconds. There we go. Yeah, so welcome. So we thought we'd do a little bit of fish. It's the first time we've done fish in one of these cook-offs, because, well, we thought we'll have a bit of fun with it. We've always resisted doing fish because sometimes it's difficult to make sure everyone gets the same piece of fish. In fact, I don't have the yellowtail that I put in the recipe because I couldn't find any fresh today, so I'm using king clip. But we've got a nice light. We've already spoken about, and I've mentioned a few times about what a great combination broccoli and anchovy is. So we're going to do a little bit of a tomato-y. In fact, it's called a Puttanesca. It's traditionally a pasta sauce, but we're going to do that with the garnish with our fish and with our broccoli. So that's where we're at. So the first things first, I'm going to get my stove on, because I just want to blanch my water, boil my water, because I just want to cook my spot on, perfect. I'm just going to cook my broccoli. So I'm using these quite cool tender stem broccoli, the one with the stalks. I quite like those, as opposed to the normal florets, just because they're a little bit. So I'm using those, but you can just use the standard broccoli. And then I've got a pot of water on the go here. I'm just going to get a little bit of salt into that. And I'm going to cook the broccoli in that. Once that comes up, but before I do the broccoli, I'm just going to peel my tomatoes. So I want to blanch the tomatoes, which basically means we're just going to drop them in the water for a couple of seconds because we want to get rid of the skins. And the reason we do this is more for aesthetics than anything else. Just because when the tomato starts to break down in the sauce that we're going to make, you don't have those horrible little bits of skin floating around. So that's the main reason for blanching tomatoes and anything along these lines. And that's exactly what we'll be doing. I've just got my little ripe tomatoes there. Now, where's my spider? So I'm just going to drop these into the water, boiling water for 10 seconds. Literally going to count to 10. 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, if you put them straight in and count to 10 and take them out, you don't have to dip the tomatoes in ice water to let them cool down or anything along those lines. That they'll cool down really, really quickly because they've only been in the water for 10 seconds. So I'm going to bring that back up to the boil, and I'm going to drop my my broccoli in, my tender stem broccoli. Because I want to cook that and refresh that so we can warm that up later, and then we'll start working on the actual dressing itself. So I'm just going to get another little knife here. So my broccoli is, my water's back up to the boil. So now I'm just going to drop my broccoli in there. Now I've got a little bowl here with some ice water. Just a little bit of ice cold water so that I can refresh them. And the reason we want to refresh them is that we want to stop cooking. If you cook this and let it go cold on its own, it's going to start to overcook and it's going to get that kind of horrible like olivey color, which is not very nice. So we just want that to cook out a little bit. So do your broccoli, but keep an eye on it because we want it to be nice and crunchy. Remembering that we're going to reheat it a little bit later when we put the dish together. So we don't want to overcook it because we are going to reheat it. So it's important that we keep all the nutrients in it by not overcooking it. And I like with this tender stem, I like that crunch from the actual stalks itself. I really find it's where a lot of the flavor is. So that's just coming back up to the boil. I'm just going to give that a little feel. It's still a little bit hard. There we go. And then say I've got my ice cold water here, a little ice bath, and I'm just going to pop these back into that so that will retard the cooking process and they'll stay nice and bright green. Yeah, I think that's about it. That's as cooked as we want to get it. As I say, I'm going to cook this off a little bit later again when we're ready with our fish and our dressing at the end. So we can turn that off. There we go. I'm just going to put this broccoli to one side, let it cool down. I'm just going to remove this pot from the stove. We won't be needing this one anymore. Okay, there we go. Right, so now on to our tomatoes. So my tomatoes, or a few of the tomatoes, I've cooled down already. So now I'm just going to take out the eye. I'm just going to take the skins off. They should, after 10 seconds in hot water, they just peel off quite nicely. The nice thing is the tomatoes are still quite firm. They're not all squidgy and overcooked, which is what we want. There we go. Don't worry, folks, I will slow down, but I'm not going to zoom in at chef's pace. We will let this slow down a little bit so you can catch up. And if you need to ask any questions, either fire away in the comment section or just unmute yourself and ask a question. Okay. So basically what I'm going to do now is I want what we call traditionally in chef speak, tomato concasse. So I'm going to quarter my tomatoes. And I'm going to take out the seeds because I don't want all the pips, because I don't want this to be too watery. Let's move that fish out the way. I don't want this to be too watery. So I'm just going to take that out. So I've just got the actual, almost like a tomato petal, if you will. That's just the tomato flesh. None of the, if you get a few seeds in there, it's not a train smash, but that's where a lot of the water content in the tomatoes are, is in those seeds, and we're trying to avoid having a too watery a dressing or sauce, because we don't want to cook it down for too long. This is quite a quick cooking sauce, a nice easy one to make. And I must admit, this is one of my favorite pasta sauces, but seeing as we can't have pasta anymore, there's no reason why we can't still utilize the sauce. There we go. Okay. I said I'm going to do this rather quickly, and then I'm going to slow down so you guys can catch up a bit, because obviously I realize that I must do this much faster than you do. Now, under normal circumstances, we would keep these tomato bits and pieces, and these would go into a nice stock. If you're not going to use them immediately, put these in the Ziploc bag and put them in the freezer. And then next time you make a soup or a little bit of a sauce or anything along those lines, you can haul them out, chuck them straight in. If you make yourself a little bit of chicken broth or something like that, you've got all these lovely rich bits of tomato that definitely don't throw them away. Keep them for another time. Okay, so I'm going to now just chop this into a sort of rough dice. There we go. Now this is what traditionally, this sort of chunky, this is what chefs would call tomato concasse. So if ever you see in a recipe where it calls for tomato concasse, this is what it means, is where tomatoes been blanched and peeled and then take the seeds taken out, and then it's all just roughly chopped. Don't worry about it being too neatly chopped. Obviously, mine's all nice and square, but I'm used to this. And obviously, I can do this a little quicker. So once I finish this, we'll have a little recap and see how you guys are doing thus far. There we go. Of course, it's worth remembering that, especially in the summer, that it's very, very important to stay suitably hydrated while you're cooking. Very important. Okay.
Pete, somebody asked if there's if I can have a substitute for the anchovies fillets because I didn't get it.
It's not giving me a train smash without the anchovies. It's just there's a nice richness. As long as you've got the capers and the olives, you'll be fine. There's a nice richness to the anchovy that works really, really well. But if you haven't got it, the dish will be fine. You won't. It's nothing to stress about. I mean, it's interesting because the anchovies, because a lot of people say they don't like anchovy. Actually, anchovy like this, how we're going to use it today, is more a seasoning than anything else. Because when we cook it in the pan, you'll see it actually starts to disintegrate and break up. And so we don't actually bite into chunks of anchovy. It just adds a nice salty richness to the sauce. So how are we doing, guys? So far I've got my broccoli, which I'm green.
Ja man, ek kan my vingers aflek. Lekker. Pete,
Yes.
we sort of have, I mean, I'm now in trouble because I'm licking my fingers all the time. But I mean,
You're doing what?
I'm licking my... Sy sê ek moet my vingers met die lappie afvee, maar ek lek my vingers af. Wat is die probleem? What's the problem?
I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah, I mean,
you're only feeding yourself and your family, so, and you're a doctor, we know how clean your hands are.
Yeah. I mean...
Exactly. So the rest of my ingredients that I've got these lovely, so I've got these beautiful little capers. And the reason I like these lovely, the small baby ones, is that you don't have to chop them up, you can leave them whole. Sometimes the other capers, sometimes they're a bit huge, and you might want to chop those up a little bit.
What's the difference, Pete? What's the difference between that big capers and the small ones? Is it the same thing, or is it two different things?
No, it's just one's younger than the other. That's all.
Okay.
One's a baby, and it hasn't one hasn't opened yet, which is the ones I like, which are quite tight, almost like a bud. And the bigger ones are where the flowers actually bloom.
That's a caper berry.
No, caper berry is the actual berry of the plant. The caper is the flower.
Okay, thank you.
So the caper that we're using is the actual flower, and I'm using
the small one.
What would be unblossomed, I suppose is the word. It's probably the wrong way. I'm using little caper buds, for want of a better term. The one that you find on the stalk, that's an actual berry. That's the berry of the caper tree. We're using the flower.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next thing I've got, I'm using a shallot because I've found them and I love them. But you don't need too much onion. That's why I said in the recipe, one small onion. I'm using one of these purple shallots because they really are quite beautiful. And they've got a lovely sweet flavor to them.
But you must show us how to cut onion, please.
Okay. So the secret to cooking onion is this here. Let's go here. You'll see there's the root that holds it together. So the whole idea is to keep that root on for as long as possible, because you've got what's known as you've got these leaves. See, this is how an onion looks. So you've got your root. You keep that root intact. And then you simply make small incisions. Now, because the root's kept it intact, it's easy to work with. It hasn't fallen all over the place. And then you simply turn the onion to the side and you literally make chopped onions. There we go. So I'm just going to chop these a little bit finer, because we want these to almost like same with the anchovies. We want these to melt a little bit. We don't want them to be big chunks of onion because these are there just for a bit of texture and to add the flavor. It's not about the onions, so the finer the better. How are we doing so far, guys? Are we keeping up?
Yes, keeping up.
Good show.
Barend Jeffer, hoe gaan het daarmee jou? How are you?
This side is going well, thank you, Dr. Steve.
Nice
Things are
to
doing
see
good.
you. That's
Excellent.
fantastic.
Okay, so I've got my anchovies here on the board. My capers and my olives, I'm only going to add right at the end because obviously they're already cooked. But there's no need to cook them. We'll just warm them through. Now the anchovies, I'm just going to chop them up as well. Nice and finely. As I say, they're going to literally melt. You'll see when we heat them up in the pan, it's almost like they disintegrate and form part of the oil. So there we've got, I've got a little bit of chili, which I'm going to use as well. Look, the chili, guys, is optional. If you don't like heat, feel free to leave the chili out, but I do like this dish with a little bit of bite to it. Okay. So let's start with our sauce. So I'm going to get my pan on the go. Using my extra virgin olive oil. I mean, you've quite a good glug of this because this is the sauce and the olive oil is part of that sauce.
Pete, before I forget,
Yes.
near Lady Smith, there's a farm called Muiskraal. Okay.
Yes.
Beautiful olive trees, and they sell their 5-liter olive oil extra virgin for about $4.50.
Sure, that's pretty good.
So I'm going there in about a month's time. So you must shout if you need some olive oil.
Definitely. Yeah, at $4.50 for 500 for five liters. That's a damn good price. So I'm going to put my anchovies directly into my pan. My wooden spoon. And I just want these to cook nice. And as they start to fry, they're going to start to fall apart. And then I'm going to add my onions and my chopped chili. And as I said, we want this anchovy to really fall apart, but it just forms a nice richness, nice saltiness, almost like that umami kind of vibe that we want, that umami, that intrinsic savoriness that we want from the dish. So that's falling apart nicely. So now in goes my shallots, or my onion, and my chili. There we go. As we go here. And this is the basis to our dressing. So we just want our onions to soften up. We don't want any color on our onions. We just want them nice, soft and translucent. There we go. By now you should be getting this lovely kind of smoky, salty sort of smell to it. Not fishy at all. And that's lovely. So the onions are softening nicely. So now into this, we're going to throw our chopped tomato.
The onion, anchovy, okay. Must the onions first be browned, or can I throw it in already?
No, you don't want any color on your onions. You just want them soft and translucent. So just nice that kind of when they just start to soften.
So I don't caramelize them. What's caramelization then?
Yes, we'll get to caramelizing at a later stage. And then what we want with this is we just want the tomatoes to start to break down. We don't want to cook this into a tomato sauce, but we just want the tomatoes to start to soften because we still want a little bit of texture from the tomato as well. And that's basically what we've got here. Oh, a little bit of salt and pepper in here. Turn that off because that's pretty much done. As I say, We don't want to overcook the tomatoes. We don't want this as a thick sauce. We just want that lovely consistency, this lovely color, and the tomatoes are just starting to soften. So into this, we're going to put our capers. And I'm just going to, I've got the pickled olives. I'm just going to chop these up and I'm going to add them in. Just roughly chop. Again, we don't want them too small. We want to be able to taste every element. I hate it when people have these dishes where everything's chopped within an inch of its life. You can't taste anything. So we're just roughly chopping.
Chef, can I ask, what are you cutting now?
These are my olives.
Olives.
My black olives. Yes. My olives are in. And that, my friends, is our Puttanesca. Oh, there's a nice saltiness to that. And just to finish that off, I've got some fresh basil leaves, and I'm just going to tear these into the basil. You know, there's no point chopping the basil up because it bruises quite easily. It's actually quite nice to just tear it. So you've got these lovely big chunks of basil when you bite into the flesh, into your sauce, you get a lovely perfume mouthful. So you've got this lovely balance. You've got a rich bit of tomato in this. You've got saltiness from both from the olives and from the anchovies. Is that a question I hear? And then you've got this lovely astringency and acidity from the capers. And that gives a nice, well-balanced kind of all-round flavor to this dish. So that then is our Puttanesca. A little bit more oil into that, I think. And if you want to, I've just got a half a lemon here, which I'm just going to give it a little squeeze. It's not essential, but it's give it a nice little sharp acidity. If you don't have any lemon juice or little lime, don't sweat it. I just happen to have one laying on the board. How are we doing so far, guys? So that now is my sauce done. So it's a lovely quick one. It takes longer to prep all the actual ingredients than it does to cook the sauce itself. But when it's cooked, there is a richness to this that really is quite exceptional. And remembering that broccoli is quite a bland vehicle. It's quite a neutral flavor. It's got that green grassiness to it, but it's like cauliflower, and it really takes on flavors really, really well. And so something like this to dress the broccoli and the fish in with this dressing is going to be muchos delicious. So I'm just going to take that off there and get another pan for our fish, which is not getting big enough. Okay, I'm just going to talk amongst yourselves, and Carol, I'm just going to get a bigger pan because my fish is not going to fit into this small pan I've got. I'll be right back. Yeah. I'm going to use this one. This is a nice non-stick pan that I'm using, which is just helpful when cooking fish, because under normal circumstances, in days of old, what we would have done is we would have dusted this fish in flour, but we don't do that anymore. So there we go. So there's our fish. So how are we doing with our dressing, guys? Have we got our component parts there or thereabouts yet?
Pete,
Yes.
can you guide me how I should cut up this thing into fillets?
Okay. Wow. That's quite a challenge there, my man. Okay, let's have a look. Jeez.
Lena, jy moet kom vashou. Pete will guide me, and Lena will hold the camera.
Okay, so I'm almost
I must first remove the head over here, hey?
Yes, okay, take the head off, yes. This can be like doing one of those remote surgeries.
Yeah. I mean,
yes. You should have told them when you bought it just to fillet it for you.
yeah, but they told me they fitted it, but I was in it's never a dull moment, I didn't have Elise or somebody checking on the people, so this is what I got.
Okay, so we'll flip it back over. Flip it back over so the skin's on the board.
Cut this thing off, okay?
Yeah.
Because this came fresh out of the sea.
Yes, that's where they live.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so what you want to do is cut right down the middle. So
Yeah.
separate the two fillets in half. Yes, down this, that natural gap. That's it.
Good.
Okay.
Get in the stomp. Okay, good.
Just looks like you need to sharpen your knife, dude.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, so now put the big piece away.
This piece.
Yes.
Good.
Put that back in the fridge. Now, there we go. So
Does
what
like
you
put that-
ideally want is you don't want the skin on it. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to take your knife and you want to, okay, this is going into, no, what you must do is trim it a little bit along the side and take the fillet and put it facing the other direction. Yes, okay. So now what you want to do is take that little bit of skeleton off there. Yeah, that's right, the backbone.
Like graten.
Oh, okay.
Well, now I have to do that, eh?
Yes. So now you want to lay your knife at the back.
Okay, but I first have to sharpen this thing, so you continue.
Yes. I think Stefan at this stage might end up making fish cakes.
Thanks, Pete.
Pete, skin off.
Sorry, can I ask?
Yes.
Do we have to put the skin on or leave it on or take it off?
Ideally, you can leave it on. The thing is, with most fish skin, it's edible. With yellowtail, it's not. It's so leathery. It's really unpleasant to eat. But
Okay,
it
so I
doesn't
need to
matter.
take this off.
If you're not comfortable taking it off, leave it on because it'll naturally come off when it's on the plate. You can just eat down to the skin. It's just generally there's a lot of goodness in the skin. So when you're eating other oily fish like salmon, the skin crisps up quite nicely. And most of the other bream and carpenter,
but not this.
skin is actually quite.
I'm going to leave the skin on. I'm going to leave the skin on.
I know you are. Yes. So yeah, it's just the skin isn't very pleasant. When I say pleasant, it's not, it doesn't taste bad. It's just got a very leathery texture.
Yeah.
It's the same as like tuna. It's almost on some of those larger game fish, it's more like their armor than anything else.
Okay.
So don't if you're not comfortable taking skin off, leave it on while you cook it because it'll come off easier when it's cooked than if you try and butcher it by trying to get it away.
Jy seker?
Ja.
Okay. Kan ek nie net probeer nie?
You can give it a whirl. Okay. So how do we all have our Puttanesca dressing and our broccoli ready?
Yep.
Steph, I don't see your board. Show me what's happening. I'm a little worried that your family are not going to get dinner tonight. Going to get broccoli with Puttanesca dressing.
Okay, nou anders.
Spell it right.
Ek moet probeer afhaal, maar.
I can't actually see.
Let me put my focus on. Is this all right?
That's the wrong piece. You don't want that, the bone side. You want just straight fillet.
Okay, so it's this one.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm sure.
I do both.
So cut that into. Sorry.
Must I cut this in two?
Well, no, that. Oh, geez, what have you done? Okay, so you've got just one massive belly piece on either side. Okay.
Yeah. The belly piece.
Okay. No. So, what you actually want is, I keep pointing to it on my screen, but it doesn't help you. Is you want the fillet. I'm trying to think how
I'll cut the tummy off. I'm used to cutting tummies off.
Yeah. Yes, okay. So cut the rib cage out so that you've got the thickest part of the fillet.
That's what you want.
Now we're talking.
Now we're talking. Right.
Now we're talking.
So
So
I'm going
that
to leave the
needs to,
skin on. That can come off on the plate.
yes, that's fine. So you want to cut that into 4. How many people are you
Ja,
feeding?
laat
4 of
daai
you.
is my hande is nou so vol Sonja Bronkhorst inkom. My hande is nou vol vis. My meis gaan vir die volgende 3 jaar na anchovy en vis proe.
Okay, so now you want to cut that fillet piece that you've got there, Steph. You want to cut that into how many portions you'll be serving this evening?
Yeah, well, I've 2. And mother-in-law 2 because I must stay in her good books.
Okay.
We don't do flour, hey, we do olive oil.
Yes, we do olive oil.
Good.
Okay, so now I'm going to get my pan on the go. We want this quite hot. So I'm using a non-stick pan because I have one, but it's not essential. As long as you've got a nice bit of oil in there and you've got the secret is a hot pan. If your pan is not hot, your fish is going to stick to your pan. Now, the thing is about cooking anything, and particularly fish, is you've got 2 sides. So you've got what would be the skin side, and you've got the filleted side. So whenever you cook anything, you always put the presentation side, the side that's going to face you on the plate, that always goes into the pan first. Yeah? So you're going to put it, Steph, so the skin is facing towards you. You're going to put the fillet side in, skin facing up. So those of you who've got, and the reason being, there's science behind that, is that you want, your pan is flat. And when your fish rests, I'm doing it the wrong hand, when your fish rests flat on the pan, you get maximum surface contact with your pan. And so whenever you're browning or cooking, whereas you do it the other way when it starts to shrink, you turn it over and you don't get that flat side in the pan. So your presentation side, which for you is your filleted side, always goes into the pan first. So I'm going to just get some salt and pepper onto my fish on both sides.
Before I put on the olive oil.
Right?
Before I put on the olive oil.
Yes. We're going to season both sides. And again, a hefty glug of olive oil in the pan. Because while this fish is cooking, we're also going to warm up our broccoli in the same pan. Okay. How are we doing, folks? Are we there or thereabouts with the cooking? Cleaning up here. Okay. So
going with the Potchefstroom barbers. They caught barbers today in the dam over there.
Yes. It's actually quite interesting. Woolworths are now selling barbel, but it's called, so typical of all these guys, it's now called bassa. So everyone goes, we had someone in the restaurant the other day, all they bought was beautiful fish. Well, it's called bassa. Do we know what it is? We said, yes, it's barbel. And then what? Look, don't get me wrong, it's fantastic fish. I've eaten it before. It really is very, very tasty. I've had it on the braai before. It's actually really, really tasty fish. But everyone thinks it's such an ugly looking thing, and they think because it lives on the bottom that it tastes like mud. It does not taste like mud. You know, it's not. But yeah, so those of you who've been buying bassa from Woolworths, catfish, or would we like to say barbel? Okay, so my pan is nice and hot. So I get my 2 fish in.
Pete, must I put the olive oil? Sorry, I missed that. Must I put olive oil on before I put it on the plate, or is it in the pan enough?
In the pan, it will be enough.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Now, you need to resist the temptation to turn the fish. Obviously, I know some people, particularly with steak, they like to turn it. You want to try not to do that with fish, because it has a tendency, obviously, it falls apart. So you want to try and not turn it very often. Obviously, I'm all right with the kinglet. It's a fairly robust fish, and I really have to mess this up for it to fall apart. But some more delicate fish are likely to be problematic if you keep trying to turn them. Also, the idea of cooking it for as long as possible on one side is also so that you get a nice bit of color on the fish. You know, if you turn it and cook it 50-50, you won't get a nice color on it. So you want to leave it for as long as possible to get a nice little golden brown color on your fish.
Pete, when I do fish on a gas stove, is that hot, medium? Where do you put the heat?
You want it
Hot.
hot. Yeah.
And on a gas Weber?
Also, you want to crank it up. But the hotter the better for fish, because what you don't want is you don't want it to stick to the pan or to the grid.
Okay.
The secret is that to be as hot as possible. Obviously not so hot that it'll burn, but certainly so that it. What happens is that fish, it's like the grill marks. The grill marks only means that the grid is burning the flesh, which means it'll release it, and that's what we're after. I'm getting a lovely bit of colour on it, and you'll start to see around the sides of your fish, particularly with yellowtail, when it starts to go opaque. It's a little bit different on the kinglet because it's white, but you'll see on the sides of your yellowtail, it starts to go that beige colour around the outside, and you know, really getting a nice crust on it. So I'm going to turn my fish over.
Flip, how's it going over there?
You go see, I got a lovely bit of colour on my kinglet, and that's from leaving it from one side down for as long as possible. Now,
I have yellowtail in the pan and the broccoli and sauce mix, yes.
fantastic.
Right. Fantastic.
Piet,
Tinus, hoe gaan het daar met jou? Tinus. Right. Liana, are you okay?
Huh?
Hoe gaan het daar? How are you?
Oh, je ook vrouw, you see it.
So here's a quick tip, just on cooking fish.
Okay, Pete.
So
Yeah.
here's a quick thing. How do we know when our fish is ready? The test is put your fingers on top of it. Just ever so gently, don't click it. Ever so gently, put your fingers on top. And if you feel like a vibration, like it's almost like there's a buzzing underneath your fingertips. What that means is that the juices inside the fish are warming up, and that kinetic energy is making them move. So what that means is the fish is just about done. You don't want to cook the fish right the way through. You want it to be warm and cooked inside. And if you can feel that bubbling, it means that the heat is permeated through the whole fish. And there your fish is just about done. Now, my fish is just about done, so I'm just going to put my broccoli in my pan to warm it up a bit. Then I'm going to grab some plates. Now the beauty of doing this, this is why this is a fantastic summer's dish, is that apart from the fish, the rest of it doesn't have to be boiling hot. The dressing you've made already, it's sitting in a nice warm pan, it's room temperature, and likewise with the broccoli, we're going to warm it up a little bit. But you could do it as a cold salad or a room temperature salad. You wouldn't necessarily have to do it hot. We're making it nice and warm. But that's the beauty of cooking on summer afternoons in Cape Town, is that it's nice and light. And so I've just warmed my broccoli through, and I'm going to assemble that on the plate. Now I'm going to spoon a little of my dressing onto that, so that the broccoli itself has got a nice bit of dressing on it. Do that on both plates. There we go. Now my fish is cooked, and I'm going to place that on top. That. I'm just going to clean out my dressing with a little bit more oil. And I'm going to spoon that over my fish. A little bit on the fish, a little bit around the plate.
Chef, can I ask you something? How do you know your fish is, I've missed that one. When is your fish?
How do you know your fish is ready? Okay, so just put your fingers on top of the fish while it's in the pan, and you feel a nice vibration under your touch. Then you know your fish is ready.
It mustn't be jelly, eh?
And there we have.
Like rubber. You're talking about like rubber, soft rubber that you touch.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We can just finish this off with a little drizzle of olive oil because it's so damn healthy. There we go. And that there, get rid of all these string pieces. I'll lift that up to the camera here.
Beautiful, beautiful. Oh,
Lovely colors of summer, beautiful fresh taste, beautiful flavor. Also the camera. I'm just going to take a picture of this because if it's not on Instagram, it doesn't exist. We know how that works.
yeah, please send that to us also, Pete, because you have that plate there. Please send it to the, on
Yeah.
the group.
Die groep.
Hierdie.
Hmm.
Nee, dis hy.
So I'm just moving this out the way. Don't need the light.
Oh, bekende chef. Waar is ons veelste?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Hold on. So how are we doing? How's it looking? Are we getting to something that looks looking edible? Just getting some natural light.
Pizza on the camera.
Just cheating with the lights.
Okay. Peter, I think we've lost the camera. Oh, there you are. There you are.
There I am. I'm just going to send this to myself and then I will post this later. There we go. So, I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking forward to getting into this.
Yeah, thanks so much, Pete. We should still going there.
Oh, perfect. 50 minutes. That's not bad.
Let's have a look at
That's
the.
not bad.
On the
Let's have a look at
gallery.
everyone's food. Done. Mrs. G, you want to get us a couple of knives and forks? Let's have a look. Put your cameras on. Let's have a look and see what you've done. We're going to sit outside.
Yo, Liana, let's have a look at Liana's stuff.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Check it out.
Good. Right. Beautiful. Who else? Oh, Mornay. Oh, have a look at this.
Oh, wow. Jeez, that, I like the little drip. That's some serious looking fish.
Well, but that is from Saldanha because Mornay is in Saldanha. So I mean, he got proper fish, I guess. Hoe gaan het daar, Mornay?
Dat is kingklip.
Is it kingklip?
Kingklip. Ja.
Is it fun?
Prachtig, prachtig.
Daar is die ander stuk nog in die pan vanmorgen.
Echt lekker. So you double up for lunch for tomorrow. Fantastic.
Yes.
How's it going with you, Mornay and Daniel?
Zeg weer?
Hoe gaan het met julle?
Yeah, fantastic, guys.
It's just very hot here.
Hot, right.
Ja.
Let's have a look. Flip. Waar's joune? Ek kan ons goed brand. Brand ons goed. Die Barend, waar's jou goed? Waar's Flip? Let's put the spotlight on Flip.
Wow. That's a whole side of Yellowtail you cooked there, Flip. Hungry man.
Daar's ons in, hè. En ons moes 'n bietjie improvise, ons kon nie broccoli kry nie. Maar ja.
That's okay.
Fantasties. Good, who's next? Barend Wever. Let's put the Doomie on the spotlight.
Jaco.
Sit like that.
Okay, so Barend, where's the 12 baskets full?
Die ander 11 bees is nog besig om te kook in die pan.
Okay, thanks Barend, dit lyk pragtig. Okay, waar's Gerda? Gerda. Hoe lyk jou kos?
Yeah, this is the Potchefstroom a la Potchefstroom, but I didn't do it. Elsie did it. Elsie was yeah.
I think the problem was there was too much red wine and too little fish in Potchefstroom tonight. What do you think?
Yeah, you know, because I don't drink at all, so I don't know what's going to happen.
Oh my goodness. Okay, something fishy, that's for sure.
No, she's got a good influence on me.
Okay, let's have a look. Who's still there? Let's have a look on the gallery. Jaco and Michelle, hoe gaan het daar met julle? Let's show us.
Mense wat kan kook.
Oh, they've eaten this already.
Jaco and Michelle, are they there? They're hearing us. They're eating already.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know who just said it's only people that can cook. We can't cook.
Jaco wys gou vir julle op van sy selfoon af. Julle kan sommer daar kyk.
Okay.
Hey.
Now where is that?
Oh, is dit
Ah, wait, add spotlight. Oh nee, dis Tinus, sorry. Oh, dat ek weer vir Tinus.
Oh, looking good.
Wys hom gou
Tinus.
Tinus. Wow, beautiful.
Ek sal nog
Hanne
maar-
Tines, how are you doing?
Sien hulle maak 'n groep mense, weet, vriende.
Okay, let's quickly have a look at Yaku. Where can we find Yaku? Can you see Yaku's cell phone? He shows Yaku. He shows Yaku. Add spotlight.
Oh wow,
Ah.
Jeez, that looks pretty good.
Oh, that looks amazing.
That's
Okay, now
impressive. Wow.
We're not ready yet, but we'll post a picture.
Sure, that looks good.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Good. Okay. Good, everyone. That was a lot of fun. I've learned how to that I must skin a fish. I didn't know that I should skin a yellowtail.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't know that. Thanks, Pete. Never too old to learn. There's some questions coming up on the chat. What is that?
And also, Steph, next time you get someone to fillet the fish, it shouldn't still have the head on. They butterflied it, they didn't fillet it.
Yes. But I didn't check.
Clearly.
No.
Never mind. Well, guys, I must go because my food is getting cold and I need to go sit down and eat my king clip. So I hope everyone enjoyed that. It looked like everyone had a bit of fun. I see some great looking plates. How's yours looking, Steph?
Mine is looking fine. The fish is fine. I must still warm the broccoli and then we're going to eat.
Okay, cool.
Right. Thank
Great
you so
stuff.
much, Pete. Thank you so
No,
much.
perfect, guys. I
Appreciate
hope
that.
you all enjoyed that and you have a decent, palatable dinner.
Okay.
And cheers.
Good. Greetings to Elise. Thank you so much, everyone.
Very
Okay.
educational.
Bye.
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 Things.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.